I'm going to tell you the story about the scorpion and the frog. Do you know the scorpion and the frog story?
Kinda.
Well, the frog was shopping at Walmart. Okay? And the frog stuck his hand in a banana box and felt a sting in Pennsylvania, pulled it out, and there was a scorpion there.
There's no frogs in Walmart unless, of course, you went to
They were
Walmart.
shipped in a banana box.
Frogs were?
No.
Wait a minute. Why is there a frog in the story?
I'm trying to tell you the story, a little parable about the scorpion and the frog. Actually, not really. There was a guy in Pennsylvania who was shopping with his kid. He reached into a banana box at Walmart. Just reason number 3,429 not to shop at Walmart.
Or reach into a box full of bananas. Why don't you just take the bananas off the top?
Off the top or in the rack or whatever. Apparently the good ones are at the bottom of the banana box. Then he was going for it, and he felt a pinch on his hand. Ow! He pulls it out, and there's this big scorpion attached to him.
Wait a minute. In Pennsylvania?
Yeah. And then he took a lid, and he squished it.
Lid of what?
I don't know. A lid by the banana boxes. Maybe it was a banana box lid. I don't know. This was on a Weather Channel video story. They didn't get into that much detail.
So the guy, wait a minute, he's in Pennsylvania. He's shopping in a store that all people go to on a regular basis.
Well, not all people.
Walmart. Well, the people that we see on the People of Walmart website. So I'd like to get a picture of this guy. Maybe find out what he was wearing at Walmart.
He's got his sweats hanging down past his butt and all that stuff.
And then the scorpion bites him, and he knows it's a scorpion because it's still attached to his hand.
Well, yeah, he comes out and there it is, and he's like,
so he dies.
No. Believe it or not, scorpion venom is only lethal to those people that they're allergic to it.
What?
Yeah.
So
maybe
why?
Else to be freaked out about.
Well, not in all the movies. All the movies there's a scorpion, and people like freak out like it's a cobra snake.
That's because everybody in the movies is allergic to scorpions. Everybody knows that.
Does it also go for like cobras? If you have to be allergic to cobra venom?
I think cobra venom pretty much is like. I'm not a scientist.
I don't really play one on this podcast.
But I watch one on TV. I watch Cosmos, which
all right, Neil deGrasse
should count for something. And he has better visual effects than we do.
He very does.
Yeah, it's like we're inside a cell. Woo! Actually, we could try to put that in the background. We'll work on that. Okay. That'll be my next technical project. Anyway,
that's what we need.
Scorpions, yeah. So beware. So just I think
that doesn't sound like I need to be beware. I mean, I've been told all my life that bees are more afraid of me than I am afraid of them. So just leave the bee alone, and it won't sting you. And even if it does sting you, you have to be allergic to die. And there's not that many people that are allergic to it.
Now you know that about scorpions.
So I can go play with a scorpion, and if I get stung, I just get a little owie. Mm-hmm. Unless, of course, how do you find out? That's a good question. I mean, I don't want to go get a pet scorpion tomorrow if I don't know if I'm allergic to scorpions.
The best way to find out is when you get bit, you swell up and die. If you're allergic. If you don't, you can, thank goodness.
There's got to be a better way to find out than that.
You would think they would make you take a scorpion test, wouldn't you?
Scorpion roulette. We all stand around a box of bananas and stick our hand in and see what happens.
Well, only at Walmart's. Welcome to the Bill and Jason Show. I'm Jason Jones.
That's Bill Herman. Hey, guys.
And this is another week of nonsense of two DJs talking about DJ and life.
This is not nonsense. This is great stuff.
It is really good stuff.
Anyway.
You were going to talk about you found a great story about the iPod weddings. I'm sure so many of us kind of look at this stuff, and we're all so sensitive to it, but it's Slate. Slate.com. In fact, let me see if I can find the story. Slate.com asked if you should decide between a live wedding band or a DJ. And after all kind of pontification about all of it, what they pretty much said, extensive research and a really long story, they said that don't get either, get an iPod. And the reasons were
wedding bands, because people are people and people suck. And if you attach, people and their egos to entertaining at your wedding because of all the things like, they bring energy and they do this and they do that, and they believe it all doesn't work out anyway because the only thing a live band can do is bring energy for the first 3 or 4 songs, and then everybody kind of dies out. And
what bands have they seen?
Apparently all the worst ones.
They have. They went on the worst band tour.
Exactly. And then the DJs know better because the DJ, he doesn't show up to show energy anyway. He's just playing his favorite music, and he doesn't know anybody's names and doesn't play music on request lists and all the things that we get frustrated around unprofessional and or hobbyist disc jockeys that are in the industry.
They're not in the business that we're in
Right,
to create something for a client. They're in, oh, you pay me, I'll show up and do my thing.
So the whole Slate story was a generalization story of all wedding bands are horrible and all wedding DJs are horrible because I've seen a few of both, and it must be everybody. So don't waste your time. Put your favorite songs in an iPod, because that's the only thing that matters anyway, is that you have your song your way at your wedding.
And did they have the litany of all the amazing effects of an iPod wedding? Because when the iPods came out, this is a really popular story for people to do. Like, oh, here now you can have an iPod, as if you couldn't play a mixtape at your wedding.
Right.
Like nobody knows how to make a mixtape. But it's like, oh, now with the iPod, this is possible because it segues.
Right.
And all this stuff. But it's like, nobody ever. I never saw an interview like they were all like kind of like generalized. What could happen? This could be. If you go to Mars, maybe you could breathe. It could happen. You know what I mean? But no one actually checked, like, oh, I guess you did swell up and, die out in space because there was no atmosphere there. It's like nobody actually said, well, we interviewed Julie and she had an amazing time at her wedding. She started the iPod and people lined up and picked their favorite songs they liked to dance to, and they packed the floor and jumped all around. I didn't see any of those stories.
Well, but that, like you said, the story, the Slate story has been told a bunch of ways, in different ways, like for 10 years. So I found another one not very long afterwards where somebody actually called Slate on this.
Oh, nice.
Because this young lady, Megan McCardle, who had her own article on Bloomberg View, she said that she took took him at their word and said, okay, well, that sounds like she makes a good point on this Slate.com article. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and do my own.
She was going to follow this advice.
She's going to follow the advice.
Everything is terrible. I'm going to go and get the best, which is
get an iPod. That's what I'm going to do. So she did
hours putting music lists together.
Got her music list together, put it all together, and then she calls the facility, and they say, well, yeah, we've got everything you need. We got a sound system. We just installed a state-of-the-art sound system. She's like, this is great. And then she goes in a week before to do her planning session, and she says, well, here's my DJ, and pulls it out of her pocket. She said, well, how are you going to play it? And we'll just plug it into your state-of-the-art sound system. And they went, well, that's not going to work. Because the state-of-the-art sound system for them is for speeches, for microphones, not necessarily to plug in and for 200 of their favorite friends to dance to.
Right.
So it didn't take that into consideration. So she freaks out and realizes she needs that. She needs to get equipment. So she starts looking for equipment, and all the things that we take that's taken for granted is what a disc jockey does, is bring the proper equipment in for all the stuff and playing the music in the order that's been made. So she, at the last minute, went, I need to find a DJ, and she did. And her article is saying, my iPod wedding was saved by a DJ.
Nice.
Okay, which was a really great way to put it. And then, and granted, she didn't go get the fanciest DJ in the world, but she did well, and she was happy with what she had. And
she got somebody who could like read a room, do the basics of what it is to do a good job as a wedding DJ.
Well, and as she said at the end of it, find someone who understands that part of your wedding, who can take on the responsibility and the things that are necessary to pull it off. Because just having an iPod full of music is not necessarily what's necessary to pull off anything at your wedding, which a lot of people just don't get. The things you take into consideration is, I have a DJ. You don't think, oh, well, and the DJ will have a great big set of equipment that will be really awesome with wireless microphones and an energetic personality to engage the room. No, he just has music. So it's interesting that they're starting to kind of see that within the press of disc jockeys. And then I saw a story. Oh, I gotta.
Well, it's like, the thing is, what just blows my mind though is there's a complete lack of research. It's like, let's just make an article based upon all the stereotypes and assumptions that have been around since 1972.
Well,
and that's that. When you and I know in just about every market, we know somebody who is like extraordinary, makes amazing experiences for people, goes beyond music, so far beyond music, in creating an amazing experience and making sure that all the equipment is necessary, that all the music, everything is planned out, the activities are happening, even if they don't do a lot of interactive MC kind of work. Even without that, they make an amazing, relaxed experience, and they have clients that rave about them. But somehow these journalists never seem to find any of them.
Well, either they're not seeing them, or they're just reading those old articles and finding a way to regurgitate the information.
Regurgitate the kind of thing, like that one article that said, don't hire a lawyer. Because lots of innocent people have gone to jail with lawyers, so represent yourself.
Right, exactly, which is really smart.
That's good advice, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Bill, don't get a plumber.
Okay.
I know plumbers that have screwed up plumbing.
I have a plunger.
Do it yourself.
What do you need?
Yeah.
More than a plunger and
Get
a pipe.
the eye plumb
And and I do.
and plumb yourself.
Moving on. So as I'm researching these stories, another story came up from a TV station in Arizona, CBS 5, and if you go looking for this, you'll be able to find the story. But it's an investigative journalist story about a DJ that did a wedding in Arizona for a couple, and the couple ended up having a contract with him, and then paying him a little at a time, and having everything paid up months before. Mm-hmm. And then the DJ showed up and did not follow through on all the things they promised. All the promises, like, I'm going to be there the day of your event. No, at the last minute, I had to send one of my people. So they were unhappy about that. And the person that they would have been okay with that, maybe, if in fact the guy had played the music that they wanted to play, that stayed away from the music they didn't want played, that understood that they were supposed to make announcements and understand the pronunciations of the names, all of the terrible things that we hear that happens at some weddings happened at all of this wedding. So, they just beat this DJ company up, just beat it up, and probably should have gotten everything that he got. Mm-hmm. But the DJ still got paid because his contract was set up in such a way that he still got paid. Mm-hmm. At the end of the story, the TV station suggested, and I don't know that I completely disagree with this, that the DJ shouldn't be paid until the end of the event. In other words, get a small retainer up front and only pay him when he's fulfilled on all of his promises at the end of the event. Now, there's a lot of DJ companies out there that don't work this way, that it's smarter from a business plan to be sure that you can get your payments taken care of as you go through for the cash flow you need and all the things, because there are companies out there that make good on all their promises. But there are probably 50% of them out there, that do not make good on all their promises. And then we have clients that on the day of the event, they don't get a redo. They just maybe get their money back.
Right.
As opposed to as opposed to, especially depending on how ironclad the DJ's contract is. And a lot of them are really good at contract negotiations and not so good at DJing.
A lot of times it's like, well, how much we already had to go through the suffering and the pain of having this big, huge, expensive event that we put a lot into.
Right.
Go poorly. Now, how much do we want to go relive all of that and fight for that $350?
Right. Or whatever that fee is.
Or $600.
Or even $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever that is.
Whatever
it
that
still
is.
And it's not, I don't think it's just a DJ thing either. And there's a lot of people in the wedding business, period, that are really good at getting paid up front and then kind of delivering okay, sort of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've heard horror stories about all kinds of vendors.
Right.
And challenges that people have had.
But I think they also get that the bride is in a different mindset as well. The bride is doing a wedding day that's spending a lot of money, okay, and a lot of effort and a lot of emotional stuff into the event. And no, they can't go back to this restaurant and have another meal. They go to a restaurant and have a meal, and it's terrible. They call the waiter over. They call the manager over. Well, we're not going to pay for this. That's okay,
that's
man.
Fine. We'll take it off. Please come back again.
But the day of your wedding, when you're spending $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $25,000.
Yeah, you're not going to redo that.
You're not going to redo it. Plus, it's easier. They're quicker to try to let it go, so they don't have the experience of, I had this terrible thing and I got it on my head all the time.
Well, especially at a wedding, which is built up to be like the major milestone experience.
I had to ask for my money back and ruined everything. So many of them are going to not do that just because they don't want that experience. Right. And because of that knowledge, a lot of wedding vendors take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do? How many of them are
going to push back? Yeah.
I knew a DJ company here in the Twin Cities that did 50 events a year, expecting that at least a third of them were going to want their money back. That was part of his business plan.
That's just mind-boggling and sad.
The reality was only an eighth of them actually asked for their money back, and less than half of that, actually he gave their money back to.
Yeah.
So his business plan was such that he didn't have to worry about it.
That's just insane.
I know, but that's not DJs. That's not just DJs. That's people taking advantage of the mindset of the bride, and I think that's terrible.
Oh, right. No, exactly. The thing is, it's not difficult at all to find someone who's reputable.
Right.
Reputable people put a lot of effort and energy into getting their name out there.
Well, it is
their
becoming more and
reputation
more
things like that.
difficult because marketing is becoming easier
Well, granted,
to
but
look really amazing
but if you
online.
do a little homework and you don't, if you're going for the cheapest price you can get, you're going to have whatever consequence comes out no matter what you're shopping for. Okay. But, even if you don't buy the most expensive, if you just do your homework, call references, look at reviews. I mean, there's so much stuff. It's kind of like, I usually say, if somebody's going to be ticked off about something, I'm going to find it written somewhere on Facebook.
Right.
You know, they will have done it to someone before.
Right.
You know, if I can't find anything, well, okay, possible could be the first one, but you know, it's like it's a lot easier to go on somewhere online and go like, this person ruined my life, rather than even asking for money back.
Well, and I think part of we can also say that part of the fault of this too is kind of the way the world has gone as well. People used to call up a vendor, set up a meeting, look at them face to face, look at references, do all the things that they're supposed to do. And nowadays, now I sound like my father, but nowadays, with the way the world has changed, people want to do everything here on their telephone.
Texting and
they want to text it, they want to telephone, they don't want to talk to any human beings, they want to see only stuff online. And as if, once again, the old adage, if you saw it on the internet, it must be true. Hello?
Well, yeah, and I mean, and there's a
It's
lot of
not
things.
always true. It's very often not true. And to get real truth out of a person that you're hiring, you need to meet them.
Well, and I think education go a long ways too, because there's a lot of things now we can just do ourselves.
That's part of the. I think that's part of the lie of the world right now is you can't necessarily just do it yourself. You can't rely on just the internet to figure out what's real and what's not anymore.
Right.
There has to actually be real research, not just Wikipedia.
Right.
And Google. You need to Wikipedia, Google, and get the information to find out about these 4 people that you think might be good, and then go find out if that's actual fact.
Mm-hmm.
And there, many of them aren't doing that. They're seeing this as actual fact. The internet is actual fact, and picking one, and then going, oh, geez, I wonder why I screwed up. Well, you didn't meet the guy until he showed up at your wedding.
Right.
You didn't taste the cake that you hired.
Or have expectations going in, like know what you're willing to go with, rather than like, well, I guess that's how it's done.
One of the greatest ways you can find out about a great
that's
vendor
how
is
it's
to use references. How many people actually have references, and of those references, how many references actually get called?
Yeah.
I have a list of references that I update on a regular basis, and of every couple that I talk to, maybe one couple a
Rarely
year
do they ever
will
call.
call any of those references, and that, I mean, it's a shame.
Right.
That means they're not doing it with any of their wedding vendors. I update them on a regular basis. I'll give them references from 10 years ago and references from last week. That's the way I work. But a lot of places either don't have them. I also know that I've seen people say that they got a list of references from a vendor that none of them had numbers that worked. Mm-hmm. But that only happened because they took the time to call, and most of them don't.
Right.
And that guy who gave that list of references out knows that most people don't.
Sure.
Oh,
Right.
you have a list of references. You must
Okay,
be,
good.
You must
So,
be good. Okay,
check.
we're good here.
He gave me some names and numbers. Well, with the kind of like the world of internet and do it yourself and that sort of thing, is that some things are do it yourself, and there are some things you just don't want to do yourself.
Right.
You know, and when it comes to especially a time in life where you don't get to redo it, like, well, this party didn't go so well, we'll do next year's party better, or we'll do something different next year. There isn't a next year. There isn't a next time. So like all that due diligence is going to pay off, and like and going with whoever has the biggest ad, or whatever you see first, or whatever price that gets thrown out there first, or whatever is even published, you know, doesn't really speak to it. What's unfortunate about our industry is that so little is written about so many of the extraordinary people that we know about that are doing really extraordinary things, innovating and doing that, and no one's writing about that. They're writing about all the other innovations and everything else, but they're not writing about that. So no one has any exposure to that. They don't have any exposure to, you know, really fun and creative ways to create things that are like more engaging, so that guests are like engaged and involved in the story, and all these elements that we know lots of people that do amazing jobs and take an event that could be like, it was okay, to like, oh, I was moved at this event like I was in a movie theater.
Right.
And we're not the only ones doing it. Tons of people are doing it, but nobody's writing about it. Those aren't the stories. That's the stories I want to see. And, and you know, it's like a woman moved to tears at wedding done by Mitch Taylor. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what I want to see. You know what I mean? It's like, I bawled my eyes out. I was so moved. I couldn't believe it.
Exactly.
It was the best thing of my life. You know, that's what I want to see. You know, it's like, sure, okay, yeah, write about the turkeys. That's fine. That's always, you know, bad news is popular. But what about what's really happening in the world? And I wish I knew an easy answer for that.
No, there isn't. That's why I'm so quick to say we can be
can
upset
come
with
up
the press.
Wedding Entertainment Weekly,
Well,
like have a.
Well, that's why it's easy to
page.
say we can be upset with the press, and we can be upset with the DJs, or we can be upset with the people who don't do their research. Actually, it's a lot of all of it. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of all of it.
Because there's bad in every industry.
If the client was doing their due diligence, really and truly finding out, there's ways to find it out. There is, but they aren't doing it. Mm-hmm. And the ones that are getting bad service are still paying those people at the end of events. So what's to say that wasn't just subjective, that lady just didn't like that DJ because she had a personality problem, but he was rocking because, of course, they paid him. Or that cake must have been amazing, even though she complained about the fact that the cake was horrible. She still paid the cake. So the vendor has nothing to say except for, well, they paid me. How bad could it have been? I'm still in business. As opposed to if the clients do their diligence and the clients stop paying the bad wedding vendors, then all of a sudden the bad wedding vendors will either get out of the business or they'll get better. So is there a real answer? Is it the people writing the stories? Is it the vendors doing the bad service? Is it the clients that are still paying the bad people? Or is it just a huge group of everything? Because this is an interesting day that people are screwed up in their head about their emotions about it in the first place, so they don't go ahead and do what's necessary.
There's no guarantees anyway. And then there's a whole element of karma,
Yeah.
I have friends that they are magnets for bad service. And my wife and I we're really fortunate. We seem to really attract people who care. I don't really know how that is, right? But like, for instance, there was a guy where we had this tree guy come and do some work. He did amazing work for us. He went above and beyond. He was awesome, on time, communication, everything. We said, call this guy. And they went ahead and did it, which surprised me anyway, because they generally didn't take our recommendations.
Right.
And then, which I just had to let that go. And then they hire this guy, and he never follows up. He doesn't talk to him. He says he's going to do it, and then he's like, he can't do it, and then it's going to be more. And we're like, who are you talking to? This is not the same person we worked with. So there's that whole element there that a person can't really control. But I mean, there's going to be no way to completely rub out bad experiences. My wish and dream is that those that are innovating and really doing amazing work and redefining what it is to create a wedding reception experience, they're not being written up or talked about.
Yeah,
they're not having the spotlight where people are like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know I could have that. Mm-hmm. Rather than just kind of swimming in the fear of like, well, I'll tell you what I don't want, or what I'm scared of,
right? Like
we deal with in sales meetings,
of
stuff
course,
like that.
And when we come back from our break, Jason's going to talk a little bit about an idea on how to get rid of all the worst part of the wedding industry in the first place.
We know where we're going to send them.
Right, we're going to come right back with that in a minute. You've been listening to the Bill and Jason Show. So I love commercials like that.
Isn't it great? So anyway, back to it. What do
you got? Tell me what you got.
Okay, this is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Actually, a really weird thing. So there is a company called Mars One.
Mars One?
Mars One.
Is it a movie company?
Nope. Mars One is offering, it's a
candy bars.
I bet you could eat Mars bars there. They'd be smart if they did that. But it's a one-way ticket to Mars.
The planet?
The planet. They have
we can't even get to the moon. How are they selling one-way tickets to Mars?
They have plans to we can get to the moon. What do you mean you can't even get to the moon?
When was the last time people went to the moon?
Well, and back in the 70s.
See, and if it wasn't a hoax, then they would have gone back. But that whole thing was a studio Hollywood hoax.
Hollywood.
No one has ever really been on.
If you look really close at the footage, you can see Mel Brooks.
He's right there. He's right there.
So in there.
Waka waka.
Yeah, totally. So, and their plan is by 2028, is it? I think 2018. No.
2018 is like 4 years. 4 years from now.
2022. They are going to be sending the first group of people out to colonize Mars.
No, they're not.
And the trip would take, cut in half, 250.
This has got to be an internet
250
hoax.
days. Well, and people are signing up. They're paying like $38 registration fee to sign up to be
Actual
selected.
people are paying these other people for the promise of going to Mars.
Why does that seem so amazing? People pay for crap on Farmville. I can have mountains now.
But there's mountains and there's
$50.
corn.
Look at my pictures.
Look at all the gold I can collect.
You know, this, what kind of freaks me out is why is it one way? I mean, if they bring out one group, the ship's got to come back. And if it brings out another group, it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Or not. Is it park? It's like, it's like.
So, well, maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe that's how they're colonizing, because you got to live inside of something when you get there. So the ship that comes down ends up being their home.
Space age trailer park.
Oh, my Lord.
On Mars. This is great. Yeah, the tornadoes won't have anything to do with that on Mars.
And how many people have paid? How much again is it?
So there's worldwide 100,000 people showing interest in this. 38,000 people or 30,000 people in the U.S. have registered.
So there's a fee to register.
Yeah.
So if you don't get picked, they still keep you $35.
Of course, yeah.
And how many people are they going to send?
I don't know.
The first group.
I don't know. I mean,
it can't be the 100,000 people.
No. It'll be small groups at a time, because there's a lot of preparation. I mean, it's a Dutch group that's actually.
Oh, of course, it's the Dutch.
Got this plan.
Those damn Dutch.
Granted, it's kind of like, and like they interviewed, and the interview was really funny because it was like, like all the kooky space people are like, we're going. It's like, well, good. Goodbye. Have fun, you guys.
Well, then do they talk in a Dutch accent? Because you can't understand those Dutch.
Volunteer Island of the Lepers. So
Volunteer Island.
I like the idea, though. I have to admit, we are not going to actually have a colony on Mars if somebody doesn't say, we're going to do this, and just start the process.
All right.
And start making it happen. I mean, we're already working on trips. There's another one.
From a business plan standpoint, though, it's not such a dumb idea, because, I mean, for $35 times $100,000, just for the opportunity to fill out an application, and that's all that's promised is for $35, I'll send you an application. You might get picked. $35 times $100,000 is over $1 million.
Oh yeah, it's like 30,000 people that signed up. Though they haven't confirmed how many people actually paid the registration or if they just filled out the profile. But you have to pay to be in the line to be picked as a possible person.
But if it's 100,000 people actually get in there to pick at $35, that's over $1 million.
No, it's over $1 million with 30,000 people. Just to have the website of aren't you interested? It'll take $6 billion to go to actually get the whole thing out there. And then they talk to some NASA people. They're like, well, there's that space radiation. That'll mess you up really bad once you get out there.
Yeah, but for $35, we'll work on trying to figure that out.
Well, exactly. Well, the thing is, though, that's what I'm excited about, because it's like, we figured out how to get to the moon and back, and we didn't have all the technology to do that. I mean, that's what we got, Velcro.
That's true.
Velcro. And now solar freaking highways. Solar freaking highways. And so that all resulted from going to the moon. If we go to Mars, the technology that has to be created to actually get to Mars, to live on the dusty place. But see, now I'm not so much on living in the desert, so I don't think I'd be
first of all,
too
you've never
cool
been to
about
Mars, so you don't know if it's a desert.
I've watched Cosmos. Did I mention that? Did
Oh,
I mention
sorry,
watching
Neil
Cosmos?
deGrasse Tyson.
It's like being there.
It's like being there.
It is. You get a big enough screen TV, you are there.
Well, maybe we get to Mars and we find out it's just a giant hologram by the aliens. It's not really there.
Or someone stole it and it'll deflate.
Where's Mars? Well, I'm going to start my business plan where I'm going to colonize Venus.
Venus? Ooh, very hot.
Not the way I'm going to sell it.
Not much sunshine.
It's going to be quite the spin on my website. Because Venus, first of all, Venus, goddess of love.
Go where the ladies are.
Very romantic. Go where the babes are.
That's right.
I'll do $50 for registration.
Right. And
I'll make more.
Get selected.
And then I'll move to Argentina where they can't, send me back.
You get a wife when you get there, right? A Venus wife.
Uh-huh.
and I'll have my Argentinian wife
Right.
because that's where I'm going to hide with all my money.
Who says you have to
In
hide?
Brazil, I don't have to because they won't extradite me.
Yeah.
And don't ask me how I know this.
Well, if somebody can sell real estate on the moon,
Yeah, I know, that's right. We did talk about it in one of our shows.
you can sign up to. I mean, there's a way that you can sign up to legitimately sell real estate on other planets. I think there was another story that I saw about like real estate on Mars. I love crazy ideas like this. This is really fun, and I hope that they succeed. I wouldn't want to go on a one-way trip to Mars because I think of like films like Soylent Green. Soylent Green is people.
No, really, they're going to go up there and they're not going to colonize. They're going to cannibalize.
Well, if the people that don't make it, like, what's for dinner? I don't know.
It must be Steve. Smells like Steve.
It's steak. Where we get the steak? Ooh, the special shipment.
Where's Steve?
But I mean, one-way trip. I mean, they'll talk about Hollywood doing moon landing.
Well,
right?
here's your question. So you would not want to go?
Look at all the happy people at Mars.
So you wouldn't
and then
want
the
to be that
reality
guy.
is like, oh, let me go home. I'm dying. I barely have enough air. Like, shut up. We got your money.
You're excited about the possibility of Mars, just the possibility of other people getting the hell off your planet. You're not excited about going.
No, I don't want to go. I would want to go once it's already terraformed. I like to be comfortable. You should know. You do too.
I don't like to camp.
Yeah, and Mars would be the worst kind of camping. It's like the same view all the time.
No mosquitoes though.
Dusty planet. And then when you see some weird crap you don't know what it is moving around out there, then what do?
You actually don't know. There's no book to tell you what it is.
You wish you were home.
So you don't know if you're allergic to that scorpion.
I'm gonna get
that one looks
eaten by
like it
an
could
alien.
eat my head.
Right, exactly.
So what kind of a person would choose to say, I'm going to leave the planet and never return? Other than people trying to avoid the human beings that are hunting them on the planet, like all the people who've escaped from prison or insane asylums or just the evil people.
Yeah.
So you're going to colonize Mars with all the this is a prison is what this is. This is a new way to create another corporate prison on a planet.
And the thing
I
is,
blame
like,
the government.
being a settler sucks. I mean, there's really nothing
No,
exciting
you don't
about
even.
being
First
a
of all,
sod buster.
you don't know that. You weren't along when they settled Egan, Minnesota.
I read Annihilating Space. I know a little bit about it. I've had my Upton Sinclair moment.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
So, it's way better to be like to move in after the settlers have all like kind of broken the sod and died off, and then you move in when the opportunity is there. Woo! Look, there's people, opportunity. This is good. All right, set up shop. That's the time to go.
You know what they should do? They should.
So I'm buying a ticket for my kid.
They should interview all of these people that are showing interest in wanting to go to Mars and make it into some kind of a America's Got Talent reality show.
Actually, that's one of the ways they're going to finance this thing.
Okay.
See, it's not crazy.
It's all coming around. This is just a business plan for money making. This is a great idea for a TV show.
I'm wishing we would have come up with this idea. I mean, you put up a website. You say, okay, who wants to go to Mars? People say $38. I do. You bring in $1 million.
Why are we doing a podcast again?
And not doing, well, pick a planet. Let's see, where can we send people?
We can't get people $35 a week, $35 to be interested in listening to our podcast.
That's a different thing. That requires us to be entertaining. The other thing is like a whole list of like possibilities. And it's like watching The Bachelor, right?
Yeah.
You see the previews, oh, that looks good, and then you sit through the show and you're like bored out of your mind because they just show you like the one, oh, she cried, and you find out I had a hangnail. And you're like, well, who cares? She's like, no payoff. It's all anticipation. This website, this concept is all anticipation.
That's true.
It's all dreamy anticipation. What if? It's in the kind of what if category.
Kind of. It's completely what if.
So
There's no kind of at all in this whole thing.
I just know the new name of my business. What If Weddings.
What if you could have this? Pay me $50 and
It's
we'll
like Total
maybe
Recall.
do it for you.
We'll give you a fantasy.
Oh, that's a good idea.
There you go.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing. Good. $50. Thanks.
see,
Have a good day.
All of our best ideas we put on the podcast, somebody else will do them and we won't make any money.
Yeah.
What is that?
Which I'll have to tell you about my idea about staycations.
Staycations? That's not that's an old idea.
I know, but I've got a money-making idea around it.
Ooh, we can talk about it next week?
Well, I tell you what, if you sign up under me,
Hold on.
you're going to be rich. And then if somebody signs up under you, they'll
How
be
many
rich,
people do I
and
have to
you'll be
have
even
under me?
richer.
A good base, I'm sure, so I can build it up into a thing like this.
4. like that.
It sounds like something Mason. It's a Mason thing.
Maybe.
That was the secret Mason. This is part of the handshake that you won't tell me about. Next week on the Bill and Jason Show, Jason will finally tell us one of the Mason secrets.
Tune in. That's another week of the Bill and Jason Show. I'm Jason Jones.
I'm Bill Herman.
And be sure to like us on Facebook. You can find the Bill and Jason Show there. And also
tweet our Twitter stuff.
On iTunes, you can get the audio version of this.
Right.
And go ahead and leave a review.
Oh, we just got a really nasty review, too.
Like us, do we really?
Oh, yeah, from a guy named Mitch. We'll have to read it next week.
Are you
really
serious?
awesome.
Yeah. I can't wait.
So, there, tune us in. See you next time.
Broadcasting from high atop planet Earth at a rate of 96 kilobytes sampled per second over the interweb in an effort to stop glorifying being busy. This has been an entertainment experience production.